Good evening to everybody. It's always great to be with you all. And my challenge today is to talk to you guys about the NeoLife Difference, which, you know, if we're really going to do it justice, it's going to take us days to go through that. But I'm going to try to highlight those things for you today. And just to sort of bring some of the things to people's attention or everyone's attention, but more especially for your benefit. Some of you maybe don't really understand where NeoLife comes from. And today I would give you some context as to where the business is, where it started, and what really makes us unique. And like I said, more especially for your benefit. And like I said, some of you maybe don't know everything that's gone on in the company and the things that NeoLife has been involved in, and not just the foundation of the company, but the foundation of the industry as well. So let's talk a little bit more about the NeoLife difference. You know, when you start thinking about the difference, it's actually everywhere, you know, and it's not in any one thing that we do or any 5 things that we do. It's everything we do, everywhere, all the time. And it's been that way since the beginning. So I'm just going to go through a few things and ask you a few questions and see if you can actually answer them yourself. See how much you actually understand about the business and how far we've come, and how important are these things to you when you talk to potential clients or customers, or just sharing the message, the NeoLife Difference message. So let's start here. Okay, how about NeoLife's history? I think that's a big NeoLife difference. You know, we've just entered into our 65th year in business. So August 14th, 1958 was the starting point for the company. And we are officially 65 years in business. That's amazing. And the majority of businesses in our country, as many of you know, and many others, don't even last beyond their 5th year mark, let alone 65 years. But to last this long, that's less than 1% of the companies that last this long. And it's usually an indication that you've got a great product, and more importantly, a great team behind that product, and a great benefit or service that we provide to people. And that's what we've been doing from the beginning. We are industry pioneers. And back then, if you want to think about it this way, there wasn't an industry. It's a whole new concept. It was a whole new concept. It hadn't been thought of before, but we were right there from the beginning. And we brought to the marketplace an understanding of things like the importance of cellular nutrition in 1958. That's quite incredible. And today we take that as being, of course, the way it has to be. And back then, that was the message that wasn't getting the amplitude that it deserved. It wasn't getting the exposure that it needed to, yet we were there giving it. And that focus was predominantly cellular nutrition. Let's talk another part about our history. Do you know that NeoLife was and is a great champion of health freedom? Did you realize that back in the late 60s, early 70s, the Food and Drug Administration had, and some of the bigger boys in the pharmaceutical industry actually didn't want you to have access to all these dietary supplements. They wanted to make them pharmaceuticals. They wanted to control that. They didn't want you to have the freedom of choice. Well, unless you were going to go buy their products in their store. They didn't want you to have the freedom to apply these things to yourself. So NeoLife was there in the late 1960s, fighting those battles with the Food and Drug Administration. And later on in the 1980s, we're back walking the halls of Congress, I believe, working on the nutrition labeling and education. Again, to create that regulatory framework that has allowed us to do what we've been doing. And after that, we were back in the halls of Congress again shortly after then, talking to senators and representatives about the importance of health freedom that resulted in the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. So we were right there making sure that these things happen. Now, these are the things that are the foundation of this industry, and NeoLife has been on the front lines. And that's an important thing if you think about it, an important NeoLife difference. And all the new companies that are here with us today, they were not with us, but they are benefiting from the work that we have done, and we should all be proud of that. Now, since we're still talking about the NeoLife difference, maybe it's the science behind NeoLife that's different, you know, not just the history, but the science. And certainly I think that is true, that we have always been a science-focused company from day one. We entered the marketplace with a product that was a result of clinical research. And as the company progressed, the message became so strong that in a point there, somewhere in 1975, we attracted this gentleman on your screen there, Dr. Arthur First, one of the great scientists of the last century and one of the more prominent cancer researchers in the world, was attracted to us. And we didn't go looking for him, actually. He came seeking us. And the reason for that, Dr. First, who had spent his academic career trying to figure out what goes on with cancer and how to cure it, he decided back then he wanted to take the step to move from the idea of correction, but rather prevention. And he saw the strength of nutrition in the stories and the products that NeoLife was delivering and decided to join the company back then. That is a big, big, big step. And the first time ever anybody or somebody of that caliber has started talking about the importance of nutrition and health protection. And that's a big NeoLife difference. And later on, Dr. First decided that we really need to get more work done at NeoLife once he joined us. And there is more science to be done, and there is a great opportunity out there. So he convinced the company to form a scientific advisory board that we often talk about. And that was in the 1970s. And we were the first company in our industry to have a scientific advisory board, which is a huge, huge NeoLife difference. And today you sort of have to have one if you want to be competing in this space. But back then, if you think about it, it was a revolutionary concept, as it wasn't done before, for a company in the dietary supplement industry to turn its product future over to a bunch of scientists. Now, that is a huge NeoLife difference, because since that happened, our pathway forward has been marked by incredible achievement. Incredible things like this. This is a representative of some of the peer-reviewed scientific journals in which our research has been published. That in itself is very unique. In our industry, it's not like many of our competitors actually go and do their own research. Some do, and it's not like some of them get recognized by the scientific community. Some do. And it's not like they don't get their research published in peer-reviewed journals. Some actually do. The peer review process, if you have no idea, is a really, really important process. And that's a big NeoLife difference, because the difference is it means that what we say about our products that's in these journals is actually fact, not theory, not speculation, not maybe, but fact. And fact is that it's been reviewed by scientists whose sole goal really, when we talk about peer-reviewed journals, is to keeping that information from getting published. And that's what peer review means. It's a filter that keeps out the junk from getting onto the scientific database. So there's something to be proud of to have all this information at our fingertips. Yet we at NeoLife, we do this over and over and over again. Countless articles in scientific journals. So that's maybe our difference. And I know that most companies would be happy just to have one product and one peer-reviewed article in any of these journals. They'd be happy. That would be what they were talking about, right? But we have done this over and over and over again. And a lot of it has to do with the scientific advisory board and Dr. First's approach to running a scientific organization. And a lot of this has to do with the company never saying no to the scientific advisory board. That's very important. And these studies that we get, they're not really inexpensive, so they don't really come cheap. And what's important to this is to get the work published about our products in these journals. And some of them, like the researchers at the USDA, chose our products to do research on their own behalf, and then published in other peer-reviewed journals, which is quite incredible. I think that's a huge, huge NeoLife difference. But maybe that's not it. Maybe it's our history of innovation that makes NeoLife, or the big NeoLife difference too. You know, we've been around a long time and we have created a lot of things, and we have a lot of technology that's exclusive to us. And you can't find the things we do or the technology that we deliver anywhere else. And we actually do the work and create these things ourselves, these NeoLife things. And this is really our NeoLife story. And you see a few of them on the slide here: protein instantizing and ProtoGuard. So back in the day, So back in the late 1950s and 60s, protein powders didn't really taste good or nice. And these were actually hard to make. Those amino acids we like to talk about and the proteins were very susceptible to damage. And we figured out very quickly, and we developed technologies that allowed us to work with these proteins and protect their integrity and deliver them in a way that they can actually be mixed with water or milk or whatever fluid of your choice, which tasted good and was good for the body. We were the ones actually pioneering that technology. Or maybe it's our artificial stomach, if you've never heard of it before. Our ability to look at what happens to products when we put them in our body. We didn't want to just assume that because we gave you something that it was going to work. We wanted to prove it. So we developed an artificial stomach, a device that acted like your stomach. And then we could look at what was happening to our tablets. We could see what was happening to our capsules and our powders and so on. And that gave us good insight. And this is a very big deal. And I'll tell you what, it's a common practice today. Many other companies out there do it, but we were the first to do that back in the 1970s. And that's another big NeoLife difference. Or maybe it was our ability to extract tiny amounts of bioactive substances from whole foods. How do you get beta carotene out of a carrot? Have you ever thought about that? Or how exactly do you get lutein out of spinach? How do you do that? How do you keep it intact and make sure that it works when it gets where it needs to go? These are very sensitive things. And how do you do that from spinach into a mechanism that puts it into a capsule that somebody can take and it gets into their bloodstream and goes around and collects, in the case of lutein, for example, in the macula of the eye? How does that all work and how do you do that? We were pioneers of that. We started doing the work. We were so far ahead that the scientific community didn't even have ways to identify some of the things that we were doing. And we had to stop and sit down and work with researchers and analytical chemists and so on, so that we could have a better picture of what we were doing here at NeoLife. Again, a big difference. That sort of technology that I'm talking about, that sort of scientific understanding is very huge. Or maybe it's our molecular differentiation technology that allowed us to identify all 8 members of the omega-3 fatty acid family and deliver them into a capsule to you every time in exactly the same standardized amounts to make sure those benefits are there every time. And to do that work and to do those clinical trials on it and to get that work published in peer-reviewed journals, that's quite amazing, proving that what we were saying about the science is actually fact. And these things are present. There are these 8 omegas that we have identified that we are actually offering you benefit in your body. So it's clear we need all of them and they need to be in the product. And we might still be the only company out there to date delivering this sort of technology. So these are some of the very big NeoLife differences I wanted to touch on. And between all of us here, I have come to learn there are dozens that we could actually discuss, things that make us stand out from the marketplace, just the way we do things. So maybe it's this. Maybe it's our reputation that is the NeoLife difference. And you know, we have this great reputation. And we have a reputation in the business community. And we were one of the founding members of the Council of Responsible Nutrition, which at the time, I believe, was a small organization, which is now one of the bigger organizations. And this organization is a political organization actually in Washington, D.C., that fights against the FDA and other similar organizations that come about. And talking about our reputation in the business community, ever heard of the Better Business Bureau? If you go there, you will find that NeoLife has an A+ rating, and that we've had one every year for decades. As a matter of fact, they started tracking us since 1969. Think about that. A+ rating. And you know, in our industry, to be that bulletproof, to have a business capacity and capability is not really that normal. It's really a NeoLife difference. And that's simply because of who we are and what we do. We don't necessarily overrepresent. We don't tell you we're going to make you get up and walk after you've been crushed by some device someplace in the world. We give you what you want to know. We can deliver, and that's the ability to empower your body, to give your body the tools it needs. And in your body, it's in your body that we find those real miracles. So maybe it's our reputation that I think is a big NeoLife difference, but maybe it's our reputation with the academic community. As you know, we've had lots of published journals and lots of things to be proud of over the years. And our reputation really with science, and we do a lot of science at NeoLife, and we support a lot of the scientific events that go on. We give back to the scientific community because we draw so much from them. And here's one example. Through the University of San Francisco, we give back to scientists. We recognize new scientists, emerging students that are coming through the system, that are showing excellence in the things that we care about. And in 2022, we had to give our 28th NeoLife Arthur First Scholarship at the University of San Francisco. That's 28 times we've awarded well-deserving students, and we recognize their efforts of a really compelling young researchers and scientists coming up in the community. And it's 28 times we awarded them with something that will boost them into the scientific community. And now that's a real big NeoLife difference. And perhaps that is not the NeoLife difference. Maybe it's our farm-to-table logistics. The idea here is our ability to track something from its source all the way through the system, all the way to your kitchen table or your home. Think about that for a moment. Every single nutrient, every single thing that goes into every product that we make from its source, we can track it all the way through our system and never lose track of it, and get it all the way into your homes. And if you had a window, or if you had the ability, you could pick up that bottle or a NeoLife product and you could look at the side, and on the side there's a batch number. And if you could, because we don't let you do this usually, but if you could plug that number into our system and you could trace it back and find out the origin and the history of every single ingredient that's in the product, all the way back to the fields where the carrots were grown, and more importantly, the genetic identity of those carrots. And we do it by taking control of that and working it through so we know its origin. In fact, we started doing this many, many years ago, way back in the 80s. For me, that's a big, big NeoLife difference. Or maybe this is our big NeoLife difference: world-class quality. You know, the products that we sell are sold pretty much all over the world, in 50 countries and over 50 countries, right? And this means in reality, we have to talk to a lot of regulatory agencies and organizations that aren't necessarily on our side. And it's not to say that they're against us, but they are essentially saying we're going to protect our people from your stuff, right? But the reality we find out is that they learn from us as we go along, and it's never been a problem for us to actually trade in those different countries. So our own criteria for quality, so our own standards we set for ourselves, our own criteria for the way we make our products is already more vigorous and aggressive than theirs. And that's why we can say that NeoLife products exceed the quality standards of purity, potency, and consistency of every major regulatory authority around the world. The Food and Drug Administration, for one, the European Food Safety Administration, the Australians, the Canadians, Japanese, the Africans. So you can see really our products really touch some key areas in the world, and we meet or exceed every criteria that they have because our own criteria is already more strict than theirs. But this might be a biased view from me, and this is actually one of my favorite biggest NeoLife difference. So what are we looking at here? So this is the stuff that we eat all the time, I'd like to believe, and it's important, and it's basic to our biochemistry. For NeoLife, this is a big, big, big difference, and it stands out. And I personally think this stands out above any of the other industries or any of the other competitors in the field. And this is why it's nature's plan for human nutrition. Following nature's blueprint is at the heart of what NeoLife does. Understanding what nature intended and delivering that. Think about that, from how you cannot think about human nature, what nature intended for humans, and not to use that as some mechanism by which our products are developed. How can you not use that? That seems like the natural thing to do. how can you not use and think about whole food sourcing? I wanted to touch on whole food sourcing because we are designed, we are formulated, we are created to work and live off whole food. And NeoLife has spent decades working in this area. While most of the rest of the industry was looking for the nutrient of the year, as you know, from time to time, there are nutrients that become very popular. We were looking for nutrients of a lifetime because we knew if something is a nutrient and it's not just something you need for this year, it's something that you need every day of your life and for your lifetime. And that's why we spend so much time and continue to spend so much time in this area doing this particular work. And this brings me to another big NeoLife difference, our product line, the most amazing product line in the world. Each one of these products, in fact, all of our products have these ingredient sources in their formulations, these whole food sources. And because they deliver these benefits, that if you don't have this stuff in your product, you're not giving your body all that it needs. You're not giving it the diversity that it needs, or the complexity that it needs, or the opportunity to take advantage of all those nutrients and to have those body-based miracles happen. And that's a huge, huge NeoLife difference. And this doesn't happen in the rest of the industry. I do stand corrected with that one, but here's something I want you to consider. The next thing I wanted to touch on is what I call the lifetime of health advantage. And as you can see, there's a lot of words on here, but that's not important for you to read all the words. I'd like you just to focus on the dates. You see at the top, there's one that says March 2021, circulating carotenoids and breast cancer among high-risk individuals, American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, March 2021. It says that if you have a lot of carotenoids in your blood, your risk of breast cancer is greatly diminished. And the one at the bottom left talks about the same thing, that dietary prevention of breast cancer in high-risk women and the role of carotenoids. This was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition as well in March 2021. And it says that carotenoids play a key role, even if you are high risk, meaning that if you have a genetic predisposition or sequences that put you there, even when you're high risk, there is a benefit to consuming these carotenoids. But let's think about that for a moment. NeoLife introduced carotenoid complex in 1990. That's 30-something years ago, right? So people that embrace the carotenoid complex have a 30-year advantage over the people that are just learning about their benefits today, because we've been talking about this all that time. So for everybody that got onto the products back then, they're getting these advantages today because the exact carotenoids that they're talking about in the studies are the exact ones that are in our product and the exact ones that our bioavailability studies and clinical research talk about. And they get into your bloodstream and do all these amazing things. So these particular individuals have this advantage. Let's look at the other two for a second. The other one says emerging science on whole grain intake and inflammation. This was done in August 2020. And the bottom one says plant-based sterols and stanols in health and disease, consequences of human development in the plant-based environment. That's April 2019. All these studies, in my view, are done like right now, like recently. And NeoLife has introduced this idea of whole grains and sterols in 1958, focusing on the important relationship with cells and how these cell membranes are formed. So people, you have been taking training and Formula 4 since that period of time, have a tremendous lifetime health advantage because they were getting all those things well before they knew they were needed. Here's one more real quick. Omega-3 fatty acids, carotenoid, and vitamin E supplementation improves working memory in older adults. This was a randomized clinical trial. Now, randomized clinical trials in the world of research is like a gold standard. So what they found is that cognitive decline and cognitive function preservation is a hot topic right now. And this is because we're living longer, our hearts are living longer, our lungs are living longer, and our joints are living longer. And we are finding more people who are compromised or challenged by the fact that maybe they aren't living as long as the rest of their bodies. So our bodies are failing us, even though we're still here. And that can be caused by a myriad of things from what we know. So it can be from the stress caused by the environment, or the lack of nutrients in your diet, or it can even be this genetic predisposition. But the reality is that when you give your body the things that it needs, your body can perform the miracle of sustaining cognition. And that's what's important here. What's important for you to know is that these things are the things that are in our products. And the reason we are so committed to these whole food sources for our products is because these type of benefits keep showing up year after year, decade after decade, delivering that lifetime health advantage that I'm talking about. And that comes from being in NeoLife. And it comes from being part of this group. And if you are not here to hear about the products and take those products, you could not be really enjoying the benefits of the products that are giving you today. So what is the NeoLife difference? I would say it's many, many things. So is it our history? Is it our science? Is it our innovation, or the scientific proof that's becoming harder to ignore? Is it our reputation? Is it our world-class quality or whole food sources? Is it any of those things? And the answer is a simple yes. It's all of these things. It's all these things put together. Everywhere you look at this company, something is different. And we've been around a long time, and we've been doing the things that are the foundation of the industry. And I believe the rest of the industry takes for granted. And of course, you sell the product. And of course, there's no FDA or regulatory body getting in the way of us being able to do that. And that is a huge NeoLife difference. And we've been there, we've done the work. And I can tell you this for free, the work is nowhere close to being over. The work that we do here at NeoLife will still continue. And it's easy to do this work when it's all true. So there's 3 things that I want to leave with you and that you should know. First, know the difference. Know that NeoLife is different. Understand that we are different. This year is not the same as you will find in the marketplace. So we are different. Number 2, feel the difference. So take the products if you can, experience them for yourself, and then share them with other people. And finally, number 3, live the difference. Because if you live the difference, you reflect that difference to the people around you, and you become much more attractive to them because they want to be much more like you are. Thank you very much.